Hey there, and welcome back to my channel. So, in today's world of photography, the market for gear is full of options. There are digital SLR and mirrorless systems. There's the continuing resurgence of interest in vintage 35mm film cameras and SLRs. And now even Kylie Jenner has a film point and shoot. So it may seem like Fuji Instax film cameras don't have much to offer in comparison, but I'm going to do my best today to show you why I absolutely love them. Now, I know that Instax film has its limitations, but as I've grown to know it better, I really started to appreciate the beauty of this film. So let's go into some of its characteristics. So, Instax cameras generally have plastic lenses and use zone focusing like old point-and-shoot digital cameras. So while this means your photos are never really going to be razor sharp, I would counter that this means the portraits you take of your friends and loved ones will have this organic, gorgeous softness and a hazy glow in the skin tones that I really like. A lot of people have told me that they really like how this softness and this glow makes their wrinkles and blemishes fade away. Anyways, I kind of nerd out imagining the photons getting funneled in through the lens, impacting on the film, and sort of splashing their energy onto the chemical plane like asteroids impacting on the moon, creating these tiny overlapping blossoms of light and color that bleed into each other and finally cool down into my image of a frozen slice of time. So I feel like it creates this organic softness, this buttery soft way. The film handles not only the edges of objects, but also how it smoothens the roll off from darkness to light. It could just be me romanticizing the film, but that's how I feel. So this leads me to another cool aspect of Instax film. So when people get to see the photos develop and they get to actually hold the print, they immediately become less wary of you and your camera. Their eyes light up and they get excited and they want to take more pictures with you. I mean, when was the last time you could say that about your DSLR? So now when I visit any of my friends, I see Instax photos I've taken of them and their kids and friends taped to their fridge or put on their desk. Our best friends have a 4-year-old, and she's absolutely fascinated by the photos with herself in them. She's taped every single one I've given to her up inside her playhouse, and she shows us every time we come over. So in general, I found that it's good if you take 2 pictures each time, sort of one to give to the person you took a picture of and one for you to keep and you can scan it later. Or if there's multiple people in the picture, you might have to take more than 2. But I've found that that's really rewarding to feel that your photos are actually appreciated. So another thing I love about the Instax cameras is their simplicity. In general, like I said before, you only get to choose one of 2 focus zones, like 1 to 3 meters or 3 meters to infinity, and then you shoot. So I feel like it brings you back to photography in its simplest form. All your focus goes into just trying to catch the perfect frame. Not the ISO, not the shutter speed or the aperture, not the depth of field or where to manually place your focus, just the frame, just your picture. And so because of this, I actually think these cameras can be fun to use for street or urban photography or whatever you want to call it. So another thing that you probably have picked up on by now is that Instax has a pretty narrow dynamic range, meaning too much light makes the brighter areas of the photo lose their detail and become pure white, and conversely too much shadow will cause the darker areas to turn black very quickly. So while this might sound like a negative compared to modern digital cameras, you just have to be aware of it, and there are ways you can use it to your advantage. So sometimes having the shadows drop off to darkness can help you create a silhouette. Sometimes it can help remove extraneous details and draw attention to the brighter parts of the frame that you actually want in focus, or in attention to drawn to. But In general, I think you do need to be very picky with your light. So for example here, if you shoot outdoors in the shade, it's a much better picture. There is no harsh contrast or dappled light on anyone's face. So I also wanted to briefly talk about the flash on these cameras. Basically, you can pop a little fill flash onto your subject's face if the sun is behind them or they're in shade. It works out pretty well. Indoors, here's what the flash would look like. It's sort of what you would expect. It's okay. I try not to use it if I don't have to. Use a tripod instead. This was my nephew and his dad, and there was a lightning cloud behind them, so I was trying to pick it up. It kind of came out. Not really, but... and the flash can extend a little bit further at nighttime. It is extremely conspicuous, though. I think that was in Austin. And you can use it to good effect. You just have to know you're going to create those harsh shadows behind the subject. And if that's the look you're going for, go for it. But just realize it's not the best look all the time. So, why do people shoot Instax film? Well, I think when you see a very sharp, very accurate digital photo, often it looks very close to reality. However, when you see a scan of an Instax photo, you subconsciously pause. You note the white border, the softened look, maybe the slightly desaturated colors, maybe the composition is slightly off. You realize you're looking at a print, a physical photo from that moment in time. And for me, it is precisely this pause, this moment of induced mindfulness that I really love about Instax. It reminds me of what the Japanese call wabi-sabi. Sometimes, even if something is not exactly perfect, that's okay. Whether that means your framing was a little off, or that chair in the corner of the picture could have been rotated a little bit straighter, or someone's smile wasn't exactly perfect. Even if it wasn't perfect, your instant film photo recorded what actually did happen and will never happen again. So your imperfect photograph is perfect in that it is a perfect capture of that moment in time. So it helps you remember that our time here is fleeting and changing, and reminds us to accept and forgive our own imperfections. For me, it helps me to remember to be grateful for and cherish these moments. Just to illustrate this point, these next two photos are important to me because this is one of my favorite small towns called Old Ellicott City in Maryland that I often visit to get some coffee and go for a photo walk. A few years ago there was a massive flash flood and a lot of these shops were completely destroyed. So this coffee shop no longer exists, and this photo is the only memory I have left of it. So I hope that you got a sense of what kind of images you can get from Instax film. And I hope that I convinced you to at least give it a try at some point. I really feel like Instax always brings me back to the heart of photography for me, meaning rather than getting lost in spec sheets and megapixels and this upgrade versus that upgrade, it sort of distills things down to you're looking through a plastic viewfinder and you're framing what you want to capture and you press the shutter button and that's sort of it. And you get to share the results of that photography pretty much immediately with the people you care about, and they can appreciate it too. So if you like this video, please consider giving it a like, and if you want to keep following along and see what other new videos I come up with, consider subscribing. I think I'm going to do a mix of stuff still. I'm going to talk about using my Fujifilm X100F camera in Japan and trying different kinds of film cameras, 35mm film cameras as well. So it's going to be a mix of film and digital and more talking about photography. So thanks for sticking around, and so I wish you the best of luck wherever you are in your photography journey, and I hope you give Instax a shot, and it gives you some of the joy that it's given me. All right, see you later.